What's up troops, it's me TheTacticalBrit, and today I wanted to discuss with you some tips and tricks for how you can improve your game in Titanfall 2. Now Titanfall 2 is a very complex game, there's lots of movement and there's lots of shooting, and a lot of this can vary situation to situation and map to map. It can be quite difficult sometimes to recognize when things are going wrong, or when exactly it's time to change your tactics and try something a little bit different. But if things aren't going your way, today I'm going to throw you guys some tips which can improve your overall output in terms of effectiveness on objectives, and in terms of effectiveness when it comes to things like kills and deaths, and just overall being a better player. So the first one we're going to dive on into here is pacing. Now Titanfall 2 naturally encourages you to take on a fast pace. The game has wall running, the game has zip lines and grappling hooks. You're going to be flying all around the place, doing lots of different things at very fast paces. And sometimes that can be a little misleading as to what will actually be beneficial for you. Now, with such a fast-paced game with things like sliding and, of course, as we've spoken about, the fact that you can run on walls and use jetpacks, sometimes it actually makes sense to slow down. Now, it does seem unnatural, but sometimes getting into the higher ground or getting into a vantage point, crouching, and just getting yourself into a good combat position behind cover is much more effective than darting around on the walls. When you're moving around so quickly, you become a very visible target. It's something that happens quite a lot in Titanfall 2, where although you're just sort of running around, you kind of see somebody darting quickly everywhere. You're just like, holy shit, well, I have to shoot that guy now. Whereas if you're moving quite slowly, you tend to be less noticed, and when you're less noticed, you have more of an opportunity to notice those who are running around at the speed of light. And my strongest suggestion really is just to find cover, get to a vantage point, and play slow. Playing slow is actually a good option in many circumstances, especially when you're defending objectives. If you're running around the walls around an objective, people just have a good read on you. They know what you're going to do, they know roughly where you're going to be, and just like that, it'll be very easy for them to take you out. Whereas in actuality, getting into cover and just having a good read of the objective itself and having a good read of the area you're in is much more helpful. And of course, there will be times where going at a faster pace is the option. Sometimes in some of the bigger open maps in Titanfall 2, which you're going to see when you play the multiplayer, it makes more sense to start sliding, running around walls, and darting around as quickly as possible, because playing in open ranges is going to leave you susceptible to long-range attacks. Now, like I say, balancing in Titanfall 2 is something which is a bit tricky to comprehend, especially when it comes to assault rifles, because they are really effective at range, and lots of weapons are effective at what you presume to be a really long range as a whole. So my real suggestion is, in open big maps, it's time to move quickly, and in some of the small condensed maps, it's time to move a bit more slowly. Sometimes going against the natural pacing of the map and the game mode can be really beneficial to what you're trying to achieve on an objective, or what you're trying to achieve in terms of kills. Moving on, it's time to think about selecting your engagements carefully, and one thing that Titanfall 2 kind of encourages you to do, or I suppose is just a natural disposition, is to shoot at anything that moves slightly quickly, and sometimes that's really just not the best option. When the player's darting around on the walls and they might not have seen you yet, exposing your position by firing at them and not finishing them off is actually a bad thing to do. Wait for the player to get within a good range where you know that you can kill them or take them out with a single burst of your magazine, because if you don't finish them off, your position becomes exposed. This happened lots of times when I was actually playing the game during these capture events, and I found that eventually sometimes just letting the player walk past and then getting a better shot on him was more beneficial in the long run. Another thing as well is thinking about the range that you're playing at and the weapons that are currently in contention. If the player you're playing against is using a sniper rifle and you're rocking an assault rifle, the likelihood of you taking them out at long range is not going to be very good. Playing towards the strengths of your weapon is the only way to maximize your kill effectiveness. If you're using an assault rifle, you're looking at medium range to short range. If you're using an SMG, you're looking at short range. If you're using an LMG, you're sort of looking at a middle ground between short and medium range. It's got slightly longer attacks, but again, it's a bit more inaccurate. And of course, if you're using a sniper rifle, you don't want to be getting anywhere within 50 meters of anybody, otherwise the ability for you to take out a player is going to be significantly worsened. Be very aware of the equipment you're using. If you're using things like gravity stars, grenades that have electric smoke, or you're using an assault rifle, play towards the strengths of those weapons and you will do well. If you're trying to use a smoke grenade to take on infantry, good job. If you're trying to use a smoke grenade just to cover you for a little while and not really do a lot with it, probably not the best idea. Maximizing the effectiveness of your equipment alongside maximizing the effectiveness of the strengths of your gun is the only way that you're really going to win, and I found that there are some really good combinations you guys can combine as well. My first suggestion is of course the grappling hook, the gravity star, and then an assault rifle. The gravity star is really good at locking people into one position, the grappling hook lets you traverse terrain really quickly, and the assault rifle is very general and allows you to be an all-round powerhouse. Combining the three gives you pretty good contention in terms of who you're going to be up against. If you're up against somebody who's got an SMG, you can throw a gravity star, get them locked into one place and finish them off whilst you get into cover and perhaps recover some of that lost health. So just having a general thought process as to what's going on in the game in terms of the weapons you're using and the weapons you're up against is a really good way to kind of just improve in general in Titanfall 2, and it will be eventually something that just sort of runs in the back of your mind. When you see somebody with a sniper, you're just going to naturally and instinctively move away from it if you're not up against fighting it. Now the final thing I have to say about Titanfall 2 in terms of just being an effective player as a whole is to use your abilities to the best of their potential, especially when it comes to using your Titan. Your Titan is pretty much a powerhouse. This thing is a monster and it can do a lot of damage, but using a Titan in ways which aren't particularly helpful isn't perhaps the best idea. So perhaps, for example, using a Titan in a big cluster of infantry is not going to be beneficial for you because it's very likely that those infantry are going to take it out. Using a Titan against other Titans is a fantastic idea because obviously it's the best way to get rid of them, but make sure you play to the Titan's strengths. So for example, if I'm Ronin, which has an equipped sword as part of the Titan, I want to be getting up to close range so I can use my sword to the best effectiveness, and if I'm using a shotgun, or if I'm using an LMG, or if I'm using anything that's a close range potential, then I want to be getting as close as possible. Some of the Titans even have sniper rifles or bolt cannons which require a bit more range. So again, it's quite like we discussed before, playing to the strengths of your abilities is the best way to do things. So guys, that's about it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed some of the tips and tricks I've had in this video. If you're enjoying the Titanfall 2 content, please leave a like down below and share this video. As always, it's been me, the Tactical Brit, and thank you for watching.